Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. On the first hours of Monday morning, there has been a murder. 115K fell. And the question now is the criminal gonna come back to the scene of the crime? There are some footprints that I have found that I really wanna share with you. In today's video, we're gonna focus on where is the scene of the crime and why I'm finding some footprints. What are those signals that are telling me that Bitcoin has a good chance to come back to the scene of the crime? My dear Watson, I think we might be able to catch this bastard pushing a little bit further away than what we thought yesterday. We are already in profit, so we might lock in a trailing stop loss and take advantage of that. Guys, if you want to take advantage as well, you can open an account on 2bit. It takes just 2 minutes to deposit and start trading, and that is thanks to KYC being an optional. You get access to all the leverage that you may think of, tons of volume, and even before you deposit, they give you $50 for free to start trading. Once you deposit, you can claim up to 30,000 in rewards based on how much you deposit and how much you trade. Have a look at the link in the description so you secure those advantages. There's a bunch of news today that are looking pretty bearish, and hold on of the horses thinking that I'm gonna go bearish because we are currently in a long. Yes, and look at the news. At least Gemini is just giving me bearish news, starting with BTC being at 110, people scared about empty gogs, outflows, and derivatives market is signaling extreme fear in the past few hours. The open interest, it's claimed to be plummeting. We're gonna look at that. We're gonna try to distinguish between facts versus bullshit. But first is my community. As you probably know, I am a very dedicated crypto influencer that wants you to learn the most how to trade, how to use data-driven trading. And here is my Patreon community. These are my spoiled members asking me just a few minutes ago what to include in the video. Let's see what they want to know. Morning, Mariano. Likelihood that the current pump gets beyond 115K. Volume indications, dead cat bounce to trap late longs. Yeah, Eric, we're gonna cover all of that. How long do we expect altcoins to move in correlation with Bitcoin at the moment? Seems as though each movement is market wide for now. Yeah, at some point Bitcoin needs to find a final stop in terms of trading range. What I mean is there is some impulsive move up or down and then ranging. During that ranging period is where altcoins can really find the confidence to do something by themselves. At the moment, they're just mimicking puppy or daddy in English, and they're scared of going too high if Bitcoin goes down, or if Bitcoin goes up to go too low. Therefore, they are just doing nonsense. There is that feeling that Bitcoin is gonna do something big, and when there is such a feeling, altcoins start acting a little bit erratic. Good morning, TTP. I entered along at 12K on BTC and 4,000.2 on Ethereum. Where is a safe place to take profit, and where is the most ambitious short-term price target for both? We're looking for a degen target. We'll give you that. Vasco is asking, is it possible to have a quick look at AVAX since it's performing so well? Yeah, AVAX is in the contest of a breakout in here, getting into 65, doing pretty well, not even needing to do a retest yet. Is above support at 32, but it's gonna meet up with this clustering here of volume. That 35.47, as you can see, was previous support and definitely the most traded area within this range. So that's gonna be a challenge, a first challenge before we can actually complete that target of $39 that comes from this double bottom formation that encapsulates the smaller ones at the bottom. I think that is kind of the short-term view. We need to be careful with this trend line that is coming lower. We have a higher low in this area, but then also lower highs. So when we meet with 50, watch out again. If you want a longer analysis on altcoins, yesterday I did another one in a live. You can go to that one. Good. Let's see what happened in the last 24 hours that affects macro. Anything that we need to care about? Let's have a look. Remember, everything is scored from 1 to 10. 10 is very bullish. Of course, we have a 6 out of 10 in here. The Fed messaging split deepens. We have some people pushing for steeper cuts and some people for more easing. Remember that the Fed is quite divided at the moment, as far as I can tell. That's the case. Still oil down and on supply restart. This is a 6 out of 10, adding barrels and easing energy inflation pressure, a mild tailwind for risk assets. This is an interesting one. Remember that there is a lot of tensions between China and US, and the last thing in the past 24 hours, according to news from Reuters, is that China shifts soybean buy ties to Argentina. That could be pretty good for Argentina. I hope that the new president uses that somehow, and I hope that Trump doesn't get too upset with Argentina, since they have, as far as I can see, still a good relation. I hope this is not gonna break that. It's kind of good and bad for Argentina in a way, I guess. And the rest is all previous days, and we've been covering all of that. All the indicators that you're gonna see in here, the ones that I built, are all available if you join my Telegram community. And in any of the posts, you click on TTP charts, you go straight into any of these charts. You can request them just by clicking in one of them. You get access to BTC, you get access to general markets and altcoins. If there's anything missing there, just ping me and we can add it. Let's remember that the Fed is not acting bullish according to their balance sheet during these days. Always a friendly reminder that risk-off assets rarely perform when the Fed is kind of in quantitative tightening. And they started reducing from 341 trillion into 3.07. That started from 14th of July. So it's gonna be more than 2 months that they are reducing. Eventually that can have an effect in stopping all these assets just running like crazy. Just an idea, not a forecast. Okay, let's go to the scene of the crime. What is the scene of the crime? The price has been trying to stab 115K, okay? It tried to stab it on 16th of September, multiple times, 17, and then finally on 19th of September, it pinched deep in the tissue of 115K. That's where we can say there was a crime, right? And then the price came back down in here and pinched 111 point something. After that, we started trying to come back in here. We put a lower low and we came back to this area that we could call the current resistance of 113K. If that resistance breaks, thanks to this formation that looks bullish to me, we are on the 1 hour time frame. Of course, let's see how that looks against an RSI. Yeah, that's a bullish divergence. The RSI is in a channel up, already broken out since a while on the 1 hour and has managed to get to 51, whereas the price continues to go lower. That's a bullish divergence, and that bullish divergence and the bullish formation of this pattern breaking out as I speak has the potential to get into the scene of the crime and possibly meet with that somewhere in here. Notice that that overlaps with what I call the fake CME gap. If you want to know why I call it fake, you can read it on my Twitter with an explanation, or you can watch yesterday's video that people really like it. Got tons of good feedback from that. You can see a mini double bottom under the global support coming back up, and now we can put a line like this to see some local breakouts, right? So we broke from this triangle symmetrical that happened on Friday. We already started breaking down on Friday. We didn't talk about breaking down on Sunday. Of course, this is a good trading channel. We don't talk about things when they already happen. That can be done by any other channel. This channel is unique. Now we're talking about a local breakout that can fail, but we talk about it first. Everybody else is sleeping. What do you think the big channels do? They watch the trading parrot. They have no clue what they're doing anyways. And yeah, if we can do some minimal damage, because one of my Patreon members was saying, what's a conservative target? Just to close partially this fat fair value gap here that we can observe more clearly. Now it's overlapping with a daily fair value gap. Look at that, getting into 114 point something, or closing the daily and the 2-4 hour until 115. Get back into the scene of the crime. Makes a lot of sense. That could turn into a rejection in further downside. Imagine if price did something like this, kiss, and then goodbye into here. That's one possible scenario, not a forecast. I have no clue what's gonna happen with the price, and I don't care, and I'm not even gonna put any effort to try to have a clue whether we're going to 107 or $200,000, because that's not the point. I'm not here to guess price, I'm here to make money. There is momentum building up, sure, on the 1 hour. On the 4 hour we get a breakout. On the 1 hour we got it already yesterday at the beginning of the day. Now we are getting the 4 hour, joining forces with the lower time frame. We've been at the lower end in here of the volatility, all looking great. Some good chances of going to the scene of the crime. Daily, how would it look like if daily goes to the scene of the crime? Let's say we go to the resistance on daily of 58.62. So let's add that now as a resistance, 58.62 in orange color. You're gonna find it on the top. Well, the daily is pointing out 117.7. So daily resistance could bring the price even slightly higher. So if at 115K we don't get an ugly rejection at the scene of the crime, and we manage to turn all of this into, that was it, 112 held, then we can get into 117 and meet with the order block that caused all this drama. What does that mean? It means that we produce a mini V recovery on all this crash in here, and we are at the same place, and maybe we can catch up with general markets. General markets are putting all-time highs, right? We got the Nasdaq, we got gold at 3.783, it's about to do 3.8K, and we got S&P an all-time high. So all of that, with all this bearishness around Bitcoin, which one? This one, 2 out of 10, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, could be just shaking us out. And that's why I decided to enter into a short at 112 and share it with my Patreon community, where there was blood in the streets and we were looking for longs already. So the trading parrot thinks that we're gonna go to all-time highs and that this was it. No, I didn't say that. I say I'm taking advantage of this. There is a good chance that we go into there, and I need to take it with loads of caution, because if this becomes just a kiss to the scene of the crime, that is a kiss goodbye. If this fails to re-enter that range, this area of volume in here at 116, 17, that is big volume in there, right? There's a point of control there. If that thing ends up rejecting us with a wick and back down with a close below 115, that's gonna look like, where are you going? Go down back to hell. And in that case, we need to pay attention to the continuation of the bear flag into lower prices. So I am treating the long in the way that it should be treated, which is small size, entering at the lows, waiting for 4 hours to join the party, get everybody excited, and then let's see what happens with that. Let's use trailing stop loss at some point once we are already into a more decent profit. At the moment, I'm at 1.23% in profit. That's nothing. So if I put the stop loss too early, I'm just gonna get shaken off very quickly if we get rejected by 113 once more. Right, footprints. Well, the first footprint that I mentioned is that the high of this pattern leaves us pretty much at 115K. That's already a footprint that this pattern says, shh, don't tell anybody, but I have the potential to go to the scene of the crime. First footprint. Second one, which you only get in this channel, is that leverage squeeze is printing a buy in here. Oh yeah, there was one here and it failed. No, it didn't fail. It made a move of 5% up before a leg down, and that is because there were just too many shorts together. Where are we here? Yeah, too many shorts. So shh. What else is going on in the market? We are at the low levels in here of people taking losses, closing at a loss. SOPR at the low end is closing at a loss. And when that happens, we also get a signal, and that can also push 4% up or something. Not always playing out, right? But most of the time, we get some upside after a green. Oh yeah, trading parrot, but this one didn't play out. Your indicator is crap. Dude, probabilities. Calm down. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum is also in a very sweet spot according to the SOPR. This 4.2 has made a lot of people sell at a loss. All the people that were buying in here, a good proportion of them sold at a loss with this breakdown. And that just hit 4K, not below 4K, so I'm still not holding. But if you want to dip your toes, that's already an early signal. This can continue coming down into the next band, but you are gonna be starting to enter in an area of pay attention, please, and let's start accumulating some Ethereum again. And let's keep the context. The stochastic monthly RSI is still about to close September with a bear close. Bear cross. Look at this. This one has the mouth open because I modify the stupid indicator to show us at what price we open the mouth and we dodge that bullet. That is at 130K. So unless in the next 7 days or 8 days we go to 130, we are going to print not just a bear cross, but another bearish monthly divergence against the price going up in here. So keep an eye on that, because that eventually is going to be just too much pressure to allow the price to go too high. Unless, of course, we go to 130 and we break out, in which case, invalidated pattern, fine. We are still in an area of liquidating longs. It's very sticky in here. Last time that happened, you can see how it plays out. It peaks when we drop into 95K, then we go to 82K, and then eventually we go to 70 something K, and all of that is liquidating longs. eventually in here things shift for negative numbers, and that's where we start liquidating longs. Now this is coming down, okay? It's coming down like this, so you can decide whether to start rushing up and to build a position for that potential shift into shorts being liquidated. But if you do it too early, you know, there's always a trade-off in here in decisions, and it's all about your risk aversion, not my words, but your decision whether you want to dip your toe or you are just to hurry up into allocating already into a long. In my particular case, I took a small long. I do not like how the coins days destroy is pushing up in here, because that means that people are distributing long-term holders as well. We're pointing down. Let's refresh this. It's kind of pointing down still, so long-term holders are mildly selling. And the bad news of Big Well Explorer broken, yeah, I say that already, but tomorrow I have a meeting with Glassnode. I'm gonna speak to some of the team in Glassnode, and possibly I'm gonna get an institutional account, so maybe we lose Big Well Explorer, but we are gonna gain tons of institutional indicators as well that I promise I will be showing in this channel because of my deep love for my audience. Today the short-term holder realized price is located at 107.7, meaning that that is the current magnet. Why is it a magnet? Because short-term holders tend to close their position, and they were in profit. Look at this. At this point in April 23rd of 2025, they started being in average in profit, and they've been holding an average profit all the way from that time in April up until today. But that is about to change because the price is getting close to 110 and their average is close to 108, so just 2k of profit. What's the psychological effect in short-term holders? Well, I might as well close in a break-even at least. What does that do to the price? Well, attract it more into the line of the short-term holder price. That's the basic physics of the magnet. Oh yeah, yesterday we have the biggest outflow on spot ETFs as we were reading in the news, 363. That's the largest since pretty much early September. And on Ethereum, let's have a look. That's also 76, but that's not the largest. The largest was in the beginning of September. So we could say that we can repair easily this damage so far, like we did with this 61, then we got at 200, and then we stay at the all-time highs in cumulative flows for Ethereum. So to me, this 363, it's a little bit more in line with the inflow, so it's a bit more substantial relative to what we see in Bitcoin. What we see in Ethereum at 76 is not that big. We've seen 446. So conclusion, Ethereum is reacting less than Bitcoin, and that is somehow positive for an altcoin season. We are still in fear. Since yesterday we are in fear, but now we are deepening in 43 from 45, and Cerberus continues on the way down as it was promising after 2 consecutive sell signals. I put numbers to the short-term liquidation levels. Look at this. We have number 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the low end. Yeah, there are more below, but let's count just 4, and then we have 4 to the upside. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's focus first on the lower end, and we have liquidity in here, number 1. We took this one, which I call the bullshit level. Why? Because it's very small, and there was bigger 1, 2 on the top end. Therefore, when we came into 1 or 0, if you want to call it, my assumption is maybe we are just going in here to actually go for 2, and that's why this position entering at 112 is small. It is small because there is a good chance we go into 2. It's heavy, and we already started the move in that direction, but we can get into 2 after coming into the scene of the crime of 115. So with that small, I can be on the money here, and if it gets a rejection, I can be on the money again. Yeah, that's pretty much what we aim to do in this channel. Always be in the money, and if we are wrong, we have still the chance to repair it. In other words, I make more money by being a chicken rather than being a parrot. The parrot talks a lot, but the chicken does less. Smaller position, better control risk, constant growth of portfolio. Please do not make me rich quick, because that always leads to financial disaster. Here is the 107 shining. Now we got 1 in here at the lows, 100k, and then we also have the 120 fighting for who has the the largest pull of the last 3 months. And on the last 30 days, we got this one here at 114. Remember 114, we end with the first fair value gap, so that there is a risk of failing to go beyond 114. Then we got 119, and on the lower end, we have 109. If you missed the video yesterday, you cannot ignore that we had 1.7 billion liquidations, 1.6 belonging to longs. Look at the size of this liquidation relative to the past month. It's huge. Therefore, it was definitely worth considering to take a long from here. Usually with large liquidations, you have also large slippage in price, with signals of high slippage in high block capital tend to always have some upside after that. Let's see what's going on with the order book, order flow. Let's see if we can find more footprints that say 115 is important. Purple whales continue to go to the downside. That is just crazy. They have never bought into this. So I'm not doing what the purple whales are doing. That's why I'm doing it very cautiously. We have some resistance coming in at 113.6, 120 then, and 125 with 46 million and with 30 million respectively. Let's have a look at Market Monkey Terminal, Binance, and let's see our resistance. Let's see where the volume is. We are trading at this area of 112. Yes, then we get that 115. That's the tough area to break beyond. We got some orders on the top end that are going in a stair, approaching the price at 121, coming from 124, and some support that was at 107.9. Could it be that it shifted down to 105 possibly? And next support is 110, maybe a little bit at 111, but definitely here, right there above the price, we have some heavy resistance. Again, word of caution, the scene of the crime is going into 115, but to get us there, we're gonna have to break 3 levels of $500 each. One is 1.6K at 113.5, 1.6 again at 114, and almost 1,000 at 114.5, and our support is just 1.2 at 112.5. So in terms of order book, just like yesterday, it's not in our favor, but we're still taking a long. Take note of that, because I do that sometimes. I like seeing the order depth, I like seeing the ratios, and I like to understand how the market is positioned. These are orders that are waiting there to be placed, whereas these ones in here are already placed, and I look at both, so I can see that there's in already a lot of shorts that enter. They are at risk. More want to enter. Yeah, but that's gonna be just too many shorts. When there's just too many shorts, there can be a squeeze, a small or a medium or a large one. I expect this high likely to go slightly higher, but if I'm wrong, I'm fine. Net longs, you can see that they've been pushed out. They're at the lows of minus 2K, whereas longs are at 1K up. So it's kind of a condition to expose yourself a little bit into a long from 112 or lower, and that's what we did. So what can we do? How can we take these ugly shorts that are there waiting? How can we go back into the scene of the crime? Well, we have some liquidity in here, right? Building up, longs continue on the way up. Eventually those longs are gonna start taking over the shorts, and there's gonna be some sort of squeeze and shake during this period of fear. The order book continues to be full of sell orders. They are dominating all the deviations, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 and beyond. They're all in the negative, and all of this is very dark, little support. So from the point of view of the order book, it's just saying we're gonna fail to do this run up. That's what it's saying. But from the point of view of the current allocation already and the liquidity pools on the top, it's saying not so fast. We're getting overcrowded with so many shorts. A little bit more, and this might blow in their faces. Oh, I didn't notice, but we took the open interest, as we say, and we kept straight for that area. Some new open interest is forming at 111, and now the shorts are at a higher risk according to the delta. Let's see how much is that. It's 383. That's a pretty decent amount. We fell this way with the opposite in green, so we could come back up with the same amount. That's kind of the mechanics. We also got some signals yesterday from the CVD that was spiking in the percentile, giving us some signals, and liquidations as well was giving a buy signal too. We got the fair value gaps. That's also looking bullish, and general markets pushing up as long as they continue in this direction, even if it's just to complete that dead cat bounce, not dead cat bounce, revenge rally I call this one. If we meet with 74 slightly higher in a couple of weeks or 1 week or this week, that could give some room for crypto to catch up with that, and that's really gonna be painful potentially for those overcrowded shorts. Yeah, Nvidia Nvidia had a great day yesterday, and Apple as well, although Nvidia had some sell-off earlier due to this ban of using chips in China. At the same time, Nvidia invested a bit in OpenAI and is planning to use it, and that combination of AI, ChatGPT, and Nvidia, well, pretty much the top of the iceberg of the AI bubble is buying each other, I was thinking yesterday, which is high reward, sure, but high risk as well, because if the bubble pops, they're gonna fall together hand in hand. Be careful how much are you exposed to AI, because it's gonna continue, sure, but when it pops, look at what happened during the period when Amazon crashed. Amazon came victorious among all the competition of the .com, but that wasn't pain-free. Amazon had to really wipe the floor with the tongue before really coming back up to heaven. S&P is completing now today this liquidity in red. So now the risk is that S&P needs to go into 700 to continue liquidating more shorts or take a little bit of a breather in here. And historically, as I keep saying, the S&P after doing a V recovery usually has some drawdown. And in history, we've seen even 15% drawdown right after passing the V recovery level, which the neckline was 600. So just a 15 could be between 7 to 15%. We've seen that in the past, and that could be already very significant. Nasdaq has a little bit more upside in here because it's just facing with a big cloud of shorts that wanted really to take down. As we were seeing the rolling over of Nasdaq, a lot of shorts enter, and now they are being surprised by this leg that is taking a new higher high. It's getting very close to liquidating them. Let's see if in the next few days with this upside that gets liquidated, and that helps Bitcoin to catch up as well, because Nasdaq is risk on together with Bitcoin. After yesterday, altcoin season going into 65, now we are coming back into 67, so that is some recovery, but it's not the recovery I was talking about. We need to go back above 75 to remain in the altcoin season and to keep things very interesting. For that, Bitcoin needs to find a new trading range that looks bullish, and I'm talking about 115, ideally an all-time high, and then a new trading range somewhere there up above 125, and then with the ranging period there for a little while, that can bring back this into 75 guaranteed. We don't need to go that high for that, but some bullishness definitely can settle this elevated fear that's coming in the market in here. And I think the empty gogs thing and the all well that deposit, I don't know how much Bitcoin did yesterday, all that combined is having a little bit of a fear bubble that is only happening in crypto, and that affects Bitcoin. But of course, anything that affects Bitcoin affects the altcoins as well. Today we are in a green day. You can see after is 9.6% up, MNT 10%, AVAX performing really well. In my last videos, I've been talking about AVAX, how good it could do. AVE is also in the positive. I hope you didn't miss yesterday live stream. We're gonna have another one on Thursday, but that's gonna be private for elite members. And on Friday, you can watch it publicly in YouTube, the edit version. Bitcoin dominance is here with the double bottom, extending the move into 39%. I think if we remain like this, dominance could push a little bit higher, at the very least above 40. USD continues with the breakout into the upside in here, but hasn't yet done a higher high relative to 48% on the RSI. This pattern, by being on the highs of 4%, 5%, is looking a little bit like a triple bottom or an inverse head and shoulders that can push into 5%, and that could hurt the market, and I would love that to happen in September so we can move on from the seasonality fears of September, have a little bit of a correction just like the usual one in the topping year, and then move on in a clean state into October, November. That is a recipe that should work better than if now we just rally and then in October we get a disappointing crash in a non-expected month where we should be having something positive. In other words, let's follow the script, and I'm gonna feel a lot more confident trading. If things are a little bit more uncomfortable, that for me is gonna mean just being more cautious in my trade and possibly making less profits. Ethereum is holding perfectly the support. Let me update the support. It's 60.79. Yes, in this channel we are surgeons of the price. You can see how perfectly it bounced from the support of this line. I fucking love RSI. After all, this video is for people with, developed criteria, we say in Spanish. Con criterio desarrollado. Creo que así se decía. I don't remember. Alright, as usual, here is the summary summary of the video, specifically for Bitcoin, right? We had a crime. The crime is that we broke below 115K for Bitcoin. After that, we have done record moves of volatility and momentum on the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin. We pierced the 27 global support on the RSI and we built a double bottom. That has the potential to go into this resistance and potentially break out from 113K and beyond. We could tackle the first fair value gap belonging to the 4-hour. That is this one that ends with 114K. That's a very humble bullish target because of the elevated amount of shorts that are currently already positioned, and they enter from the times we were trading at 112. So they are a little bit in pain when we approach 113. New shorts want to enter in here, which could lead into a failure of our thesis that the price can come back into the scene of the crime at 115. We have overlapping fair value gaps of 4-hour and daily, all of them motivating that event to happen, to go into the scene of the crime, and then we need to decide, do we get a big rejection there or we climb slightly higher into the daily resistance located slightly above 117. If we go into 117, we have already achieved a lot, V recoveries and potential for continuation to upside, in which case we invalidate the bear flag. But the bear flag is still in place even if we go up until 115. That rejection could continue with the bear flag targets of 107 or even lower, depending on which extension we use for the bear flag. So in practice, I am taking a long, I'm still in my long, and I'm treating it with a lot of caution as we approach 114 and 115. If that survives and we go higher, we can trail that with a stop loss and see how it goes. If we get stopped out in profits, well, we look for another long in the low end. Am I gonna take a short from around here? Overcrowded spaces a parrot never likes. And yeah, it's overcrowded and there's a queue of shorts that also want to enter from slightly higher because everybody's repeating out there that there's still a lot of more downside. And yes, there might be, but if everybody shouts the same, guess what happens? Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, hit the like. There won't be any other video today because I'm gonna celebrate my anniversary with my wife. We're gonna have a few pints and go with the car in the coast and see some very nice places. I'll catch you up on Twitter, on Telegram, or if you are a Patreon member, you can talk to me in the community. I always answer those questions. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.